On the construction site, construction workers are still working hard. Behind them are high-rise buildings and the beautiful pink sunset light contrasts with their tired work. Baek Lee-soo was working very focused, then there was a phone call and he had to put his work aside. It was difficult to pick up the phone to listen, wipe it away while listening. Beads of sweat were flowing down his face. On the other end of the line was a scolding voice. "Hey, Baek Lee-soo, why didn't you answer the phone, dude?" Confused, he explained, "It's so noisy here that I couldn't hear you. What's going on?" The person on the other end of the line clicked the pen and said leisurely, "What's going on?" Something had to happen to be able to contact his younger brother. It had been a long time since he had seen his younger brother's face. He walked and talked in the style of a CEO. There were many people behind him, secretary, with bodyguards following closely behind. The guy Baek Lee-soo refused. "Today, I'm a bit busy." "What are you doing so busy?" Another guy on the construction site stood behind Baek Lee-soo and shouted, "Really? What are you doing over there? Everyone is upset. Don't rush in like that." Baek Lee-soo looked to the designated direction. Down there were many corpses of soldiers lying around in the sand and gravel. "Otherwise, behold, they will float up there." The older brother said on the phone again, "Okay, can you come later? Tell me before you hesitate today." Before he could finish his sentence, suddenly a person fell into the yard, from the emergency exit. The shirtless man said each word, "Hey." Then he slowly approached, one hand holding a sharp knife, the other holding unknown ropes. That was the man from the Southern Working Group, of the 525th Special Operations Team named Ri Yongkil. He has infiltrated the South 4 times. When the two people from the other side were about to rush in and use their fists at each other, Baek Lee-soo from this side slowly walked over, talking on the phone very innocently, "Now that deceitful guy, I know he will come soon." After that, Baek Lee-soo came to ask the guy who was punched, Kia, the new soldier's condition. That guy was punched to the point that his eyes were big and small, his mouth was distorted, and the wound on his chest kept bleeding. "I was fine, very deep." Baek Lee-soo calmly took off his jacket and said, "Then. Stop the bleeding," he said. Then he gave the shirt to his teammate Kia. He was a member of the HID task force. The leader of the Northern Working Group. Baek Lee-soo had long infiltrated North Korea, with 4 years of experience, 12 times, northern penetration work. Ri Yongkil is currently on one side, gritting his teeth. "How long will it take?" "I'm sure about 10 seconds. "Hey, he can endure about 30 seconds. "Captain, come on, everyone." He saw that and got angry, swung the knife and shouted loudly, "Damn you brats." Baek Lee-soo quickly leaned back to avoid this move. Then, without hesitation, he threw a strong punch at him, causing Cho to fall backward. This punch caused Ri Yongkil to vomit blood. He was also very angry. But before he could regain his composure, Baek Lee-soo gave him another punch from above, causing him to fall completely unrecognizable. At this point, Baek Lee-soo was satisfied and used a towel to wipe away the blood on his hand. Another person assigned to treat the new soldiers and clean up the place. Baek Lee-soo calmly put on his jacket, turned to tell the person next to him, "I have an appointment so I should go first." "Yes, we know." His juniors responded. They packed Jin Young-kian's body onto a turtle cart carrying construction materials. A junior guy commented, "How can we say we are doing something with someone else? Let's just say that he was working at the construction site." Baek Lee-soo slowly walked away from the construction site under the poetic golden sunset. After that, Baek Lee-soo slowly walked to the meeting place with his brother. The waiter politely told him, "Please stop walking. Today the restaurant is completely surrounded by outsiders. You can't go inside." Baek Lee-soo explained, "I had an appointment with my brother here," but the waiter still refused to let him pass. He gently smiled and stopped. "Very sorry to you, our restaurant. You must dress politely to enter. Can you go back and prepare and then come back?" Very soon, his cold, handsome tycoon brother came to relieve Baek Lee-soo. He stood proudly waving at him. "What is this kid doing there? What's wrong? You didn't say you had an appointment with me." Then he walked over and hugged Baek Lee-soo very intimately, causing him to shout out to the waiter, "This is my younger brother. What's going on? There shouldn't be any problem, right?" When the waiter saw his brother's sky-high aura, he could only bow his head repeatedly, apologizing, No, I didn't know you were a guest, Director B." After that, Baek Lee-soo didn't say much, but went directly inside. His older brother stood looking at him from behind. On Baek Lee-soo's shirt, 4 words were written, "Safety first." Then, the older brother turned to the waiter and said sarcastically, "First safety, wow, that sounds like a good name." The waiter could only bow his head to the ground. At this time at the construction site, the workers were drinking. Drunken conversations were also heard. "What is this all about? Why are you treating us like this?" A gray-haired guy, now drunk and unconscious, screamed that the company party after 3 months only had frozen pork belly. The others are still eating and drinking very enthusiastically. The manager told us to wait, he will probably buy something delicious. The guy next to him is eating grilled meat with rice, extremely delicious. I see it's delicious. How long has it been since we last ate meat? Eat a lot. If you have meat, you should drink less. Seeing that, the gray-haired guy also stood up, reached out to grab the beer bottle that was still on the table, then struggled to open it. His face was already red and his mouth was still chattering. Knowing that, I followed the team. The manager gave it to him. That place is expensive, so it must be delicious. His words were truly extravagant. The guy sitting across from him reminded him, the manager is here. Several shiny black luxury cars stopped not far from their drinking table. A man pushed the door and got out of the car. Then the brown-haired guy, who was attentively eating grilled meat, suddenly stood up and raised his hands in the air. The set of people saluting the flag respectfully said loudly, loyally, the department head has arrived. The other guys, including the silver-haired guy and the square-faced black-haired guy, also said the same. Look how agile he is. Right, I'm a newbie. The department head is here. Please have a drink first. The manager, who looked middle-aged, walked over and said hesitantly, I'm sorry, the project has ended. But because there was something I needed to talk about, I kept you guys here. But I don't see Captain Beck anywhere. The black-haired guy, still holding a glass of wine in his hand, replied, the captain was busy with personal matters so he wasn't present. The silver-haired guy next to him didn't seem to care much. She drank the entire bottle of brown wine in her hand. The captain put his hand in his chest pocket, looking for something. Then things would get messy again. The brown-haired guy turned to ask him very seriously, yes, what's wrong, only to see suddenly a line of blood splattering out on his forehead. After that, he fell backwards and did not react at all. On the other side, the man holding the gun, his hands were still pointing straight at his forehead. His face showed a dangerous domineering look. Fatally, his teammates only now regained consciousness from their drunken stupor and confirmed that the brown-haired guy had indeed been hit by the fatal bullet on his forehead, which was fresh blood. A cold, icy voice rang out. I now announce the disbandment of the Special Forces team. The Special Forces soldiers were already wearing protective gear, glasses and AK guns in their hands. At this moment, they were very focused when going to the side. When the man holding the pistol loaded it again, they also appeared next to him. Everyone carried big guns on their shoulders, ready to shoot and kill. The remaining brothers were so scared that their faces turned blue, their eyes widened lifelessly, and their mouths were agape. They seemed to have lost their souls after seeing the might of the Special Forces army in front of them. Ordered, black out, destroy all. The man in charge of the department just now, at this moment, Duong raised his pistol. His face was filled with an unbelievably sinister and deceitful expression. He almost sounded as if he was about to start a hunting war. It's all been hard. On the other hand, the scene in the restaurant was still extremely peaceful. Delicious dishes such as delicately arranged steak salad were placed on the table, and there was also a chilled bottle of red wine on it, with dry ice. Beck Lee Su's older brother spoke first. Beck Lee Su. The man took out a business card and said in a drunken state how working at his company was like. After that, he placed the business card on the table and slowly pushed it towards Beck Lee Su. Why did he join the safest company in the military? On the business card, it said Director Beck's company had the abbreviation as TSFG. Beck Lee Su did not rush to accept the business card but just replied leisurely. People's Aid Director Beck also immediately asked, these days, because of People's Aid, soldiers have to do manual work. Then the irritable guy picked up the bottle of wine, continued to fill his glass with wine and grumbled. He was in business and his younger brother was working for a low salary. He felt uncomfortable. His job was not good either. It's not difficult, I just need to manage a few restaurants. Seeing that Beck Lee Su seemed to be losing concentration, he asked again, is the number one safety listening to me? Beck Lee Su just leisurely replied, let's talk about this later. Suddenly, an alarm sounded in his pocket. It was an incoming call. Beck Lee Su took out his phone and saw that the caller was coming from an unknown number. Beck Lee Su calmly said, brother, wait a minute, I'll go answer the phone. Director Beck also seems to be drunk at this time. He said a bit angry again, did you hear what I said? It seemed like Beck Lee Su didn't pay much attention to him, but went into the men's bathroom to answer the phone. Yes, Beck Lee Su, please listen. On the other end of the line, the voice of the person speaking was somewhat difficult. The sounds he made sounded quite distorted. Captain, what should I do? There are many expensive dishes. Have you eaten yet? Beck Lee Su. I also quickly recognized my teammate, Cyan. What's wrong with your voice? Lee Cyan was breathing heavily and speaking weakly. Except for the captain, we ate a lot of expensive food. I ate a bit too much so I felt a bit uncomfortable. Beck Lee Su also noticed something unusual, so he seriously corrected him. Lee Cyan stopped joking. What happened? At this time he told the situation that happened on this side. The captain of all of them. We were ordered to black out, The guy was sitting in a corner with one hand holding his stomach, which was constantly bleeding. The blood flowing out had soaked his clothes. Lee Sion still said, "We are all expelled." Baek Lee Soo felt confused, asked again what was the meaning of this. "This time it's because we were too careless. Chief Jang, that old fox sold us all out." Only then did Baek Lee Soo realize the importance of the matter, and he hastily said, "There is no way I will come back right away." Until then, Lee Sion only reminded him in panic, "The captain quickly ran away, they will soon find you and run away." After hearing this sentence, Baek Lee Soo seemed dumbfounded. The phone on the other end of the line was also turned off, and he quickly said, as if shouting, "Sion, Sion." Then Baek Lee Soo looked helplessly at the call screen ending. At this time, in the lobby of the restaurant where the male protagonist and his brother had dinner, a person appeared. He walked towards the waiter on duty there. The waiter was also very polite, gently raised his hand to stop. "I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Today, our restaurant was completely packed, so we didn't accept customers." But before the waiter could finish his sentence, Kia rushed over quickly, then slashed the waiter's neck and then rushed in quickly. In his hand he also held a sharp knife covered in blood. His figure left the lobby, looking extremely cold and dangerous. In the luxurious dining room, Director Baek lay unconscious on the table after drinking a lot of wine. When he heard a noise outside the door, he raised his head and excitedly asked, "Ah, I'm here." But facing him was not his younger brother named Baek Lee Soo, but 3 assassins from the Special Task Force, wearing protective vests, shoes, hoods that covered half of their heads, and holding knives in their hands, ready to attack him. The assassin's knife shined brightly, reflecting Director Baek's slightly surprised and scared face. At this time, outside the restaurant lobby, Baek Lee Soo was running towards the dining room. On his face, he could not hide the worry and shock. On the other side of the hallway, there were 6 assassins dressed in Special Forces gear and masked, just like the people in the dining room confronting Director Baek Lee Soo's brother. He realized in panic, "Over there, bro." A leading assassin spoke up when he saw him, confirming that Baek Lee Soo had killed him. Then, he rushed forward at the fastest possible speed, holding a weapon in his hand, his whole body exuding the deathliness of a murderer. Baek Lee Soo was also not an ordinary person. He quickly took the assassin's hand. Then he kicked him in the face with unbelievable speed. He also quickly snatched the knife from his hand and threw it at him with a powerful blow. That assassin was so injured that he fell backwards. Then another assassin rushed in. He had cold eyes without warmth. I only saw Baek Lee Soo quickly leaning to the side to avoid the attack from his sharp knife. Then, he quickly grabbed the other assassin's thigh and threw him to the ground. Baek Lee Soo's sudden attack caused the assassin to fall backwards by surprise. Meanwhile, Baek Lee Soo quickly took the knife and stabbed the assassin's leg. The sharp blade pierced his shoe, splattering blood on the cold metal knife. Blood also sprayed out a lot and landed on his face. Baek Lee Soo's pupils turned red and then shrunk, without any surprise. The assassin lay unconscious after Baek Lee Soo's sudden attack earlier. He slowly retracted the knife to look at it, then said coldly, "The blade's trajectory was too straight." He calmly took off his first safety shirt, revealing a faded patterned shirt inside. At this moment, Baek Lee Soo's face changed to an unpredictable and dangerous look. He seemed to have entered a new state, brandishing the knife still with blood stains in front of the assassins and saying in a challenging voice, "Come on." When those guys saw that, they ran up with the intention of attacking Baek Lee Soo's body. As he swung his short knife, he immediately moved faster and used another short knife to slash his neck. Later, he also very gently rushed to deal with the remaining guy. During the fierce battle, Baek Lee Soo was unlucky enough to let a guy slash him to the point that he was injured in the left shoulder. The laceration was quite long and deep. The outer layer of his shirt was also torn. The open wound inside just kept pouring out blood. After that, the guys behind continued to rush to attack him. On the other side, the man in black, known as Department Head Jang, stood quietly on the rooftop of the building. Behind him someone came to report. The construction site had been cleared. Department Head Jang asked again, "How about Baek Lee Soo?" The guy in the back raised his hand to look at his watch and replied, "The first squad of the new Special Task Force is in combat. There should be a report soon." Chief Jang picked up a cigarette and smoked, smacking his lips and saying, "Squad 1, not enough. Send another squad to kill them all, leaving no witnesses." At this time, Baek Lee Soo is attacking with a squad of assassins dressed in black. He had defeated quite a few guys. His face still had red stains of their blood. He nervously called out, "Brother." On the other side, Director Baek was also in the same situation. He had blood stains on his face. He asked in a harsh voice, "I just ask one question. Where are your family members on a beautiful day like this?" he said, grabbing that guy's head with one hand and holding a bloody knife to his neck with the other. He even raised his voice and asked if that guy was going to work. Another stream of blood spurted out from his neck, surprising him. His voice softened a bit. If I kill him, I won't be able to hear the answer anymore. The assassin said each word weakly as if out of breath. No, target Beck, yes. What is this again? Report Beck Lee, find out, immediately. Director Beck dejectedly wiped his hands and said, do gangsters still use this stuff these days? The assassin still weakly said each word, item, target. Beck Lee Sue, immediately destroy if detected. Repeat, Director Beck held a thin white towel to wipe away the blood stains on my hands. Just now, Beck Lee Sue discovered it and immediately destroyed it. When he heard someone wanted to kill his younger brother, Director Beck went crazy. He angrily said every word. Who are you talking about killing? I am the head of TS Financial Group, General Director Beck Do-kyung, boss of Tae-san Association. Beck Lee Soo killed the assassin with one knife. He saw blood splatters on the wall of the room. He panicked and ran in to call out. Director Beck replied, it's okay. Beck Lee Soo's older brother held his head and said, Beck Lee Soo. He smoothed his hair back and looked at his brother. They were all my guests. In his hand, he still held a bloody knife, and at his feet were corpses lying around. The atmosphere in the car was extremely tense. Beck Do-kyung felt his head aching. That's how it was. I still can't accept the truth and ask again. You are HHI. The driver looked at Beck Do-kyung through the rearview mirror. Director Beck was still holding his head, his hair hanging down. He asked his younger brother again, what did you just say? The driver named Jin Yong raised his arm back and spoke up, it's HID, it's too hard to remember, let's call it intelligent. Beck Do-kyung took the hair tie from his wrist. That's right, intelligent. He tied his long hair as he continued, saying that he is not a normal soldier but an intelligence officer, so he is stopping the North Koreans and killing people too. Beck Lee Soo is also doing his best. Confused, he is not an ordinary thug but also the boss of the Tae-san Society, a large gangster organization in Seoul. Mr. Do-kyung looked over, speechless, but because he was a twin brother, he thought you lived a very good life. Lee Soo asked me to come down here. Do-kyung was confused. What? Why did you suddenly come down here? Lee Soo replied, I also saw those guys just now. If I were still with you, I would also be in danger. They would chase me until I die. Mr. Do-kyung frowned. Agu, yes, I'm scared. Come down over there. Why don't you go down in front of the police station so they can find you easily? Lee Soo frowned. Seriously, this is no joke. Kyung looked out the car window and got out. He opened the door and went down. Lee Soo ran after him. Brother, I know what I have to do now. Mr. Kyung spoke softly. Lee Soo. Scene change, someone's voice urging everyone to work. Funeral wreaths are moved into a building. Dozens of people dressed in black were busy preparing something. Kyung tilted his head, looking at him like he was joking. Lee Soo was stunned. All of this. A girl walked towards Mr. Kyung. The director is here. Mr. Kyung looked at her. Yes, I just arrived. The girl reported, I have prepared as the director said. It is expected that everything will be completed in the next 2 hours. Kyung called, Lee Soo. I have to die for everything to end. Lee Soo clearly understands this too. Kyung was holding a photo of his younger brother, that's why he intended to let him die. Beck Lee Soo's photo was placed neatly in front of the coffin. Kyung explained that this is a performance where he learned this from the Yakuza community in the past, heard they used this method to wash their hands of their swords or change their identity. Lee Soo asked if they believed it. Kyung replied, of course he would be skeptical. But the most important is this. Our Tae-san group is an organization that knows more than you think. Funeral arrangements have been completed. But if your brother died, the family members of the deceased bow their heads in response to the visitor. Younger brother of Beck Do-kyung, boss of Tae-san Association. Those with high status will come to visit and become witnesses. Doubt. Beck Kyung's face was cold, not showing any emotion. No, as long as you believe, they are forced to believe. A car stopped in front of the funeral gate. But after a while, no one was seen coming down. Do-kyung's juniors frowned. What is it? Are you guys coming to eat at the temple? Why are you sitting in the car when the older people have all gotten off? The person in the car checked the information. Wait a minute, are you twin? They even said they were moving house or something. Chief Jang held a cigarette in his mouth. Just a thug. Beck Kyung's juniors held their hands and tapped on the car window. The glass was dark so he couldn't see anything. He said inside, Hey, uncle, this is not the place to park your car arbitrarily like that. Chief Jang said to the people behind him, this is the last mission before going to the battlefield. The group put on their black hats, preparing to carry out their mission. Chief Jang continued to order, is Beck Lee Soo dead or not? Please open the coffin lid and confirm it. The black hat men received the order and got out of the car. Mr. Kyung's subordinates angrily said, raise your head, What is that? Why are you wearing that cheap shirt here? He snapped, you came here to walk. Saying that, he pushed up his hat. Shut up, you son of a bit. Turning the car around in another direction. Before he could finish his sentence, this person was punched in the face by the black hat guy. His eyes were cold and emotionless. The man in black fell to the ground in pain. The other black-shirted guys were stunned when they saw that. They rushed up angrily, this son of a bit. Chief Jang's soldiers also coldly rushed in, and both sides rushed to fight. Perhaps because of the difference in strength, the black shirt side was weaker and was constantly defeated. The black hat's face was filled with murderous intent. Kyung's juniors were quickly overpowered by them. This group of people are members of the HID task force, working in the north, Hanla Assassin Group Number 2. Mr. Kyung and Mr. Jinyong stood at the top of the stairs. The assassins also looked up at the two of them. Mr. Jinyong reached out to unbutton his shirt. He took off his jacket and walked down the stairs. The head assassin walked towards him. Mr. Jinyong is cold, our funeral family only welcomes people who have received the message. The black hat guy tilted his head and turned black, so he should stop. The leader of the black hat task force didn't let Jinyong finish speaking and punched him from under his chin. But he didn't seem to feel anything at all, but finished his sentence, turned around and drove away. Could he? He was a member of Taesan Financial Group, the captain of the guard team of Taesan Association. Han Jinyong of Hanam Ward, rubbed motionless. Jinyong's big hand grabbed the black hat's face, his veins bulging. Mr. Jinyong snorted softly. The black hat guy standing next to him looked strangely small. The remaining assassins were stunned. What's going on? The other guy's knees buckled. Mr. Jinyong used his left hand to roll up the right sleeve of his shirt. The assassin from the special task force was held by his face and couldn't move. His face was red from lack of oxygen. His eyes widened. Huh. The assassin soon collapsed to the ground, his face smeared with blood. The remaining assassins were alert and used their bare hands to break his chin. They all rushed up at the same time. You uneducated guy, don't be careless, let's all rush in together. Mr. Jinyong flexibly avoided attacks from two assassins. His left hand grabbed a guy's face. The remaining guys rushed forward. This thug. One guy jumped up and punched Mr. Jinyong in the face, causing clear bruises on his face. The other assassin continued to attack. Go away, you son of a bit. Jinyong's powerful fist was raised. The assassin was still boasting, but was knocked face down by his punch. Another guy was grabbed by his face and lifted up high. This guy used all his strength to resist. One hand grabbed Jinyong's wrist, the other grabbed his collar, his legs wrapped around Jinyong's body. He turned around to wrestle Jinyong but failed. Jinyong still stood still. The assassin was strangled by Jinyong after his failed attempt. He groaned and trembled. Mr. Jinyong lifted his head high, his eyes filled with murderous intent. The assassin who had just been defeated groaned, held his head and crawled up, his eyes looking scared at Jinyong's huge figure. He had not yet regained his composure. Then he was sent flying by Jin's blow. Several assassins were beaten unconscious and laid on top of each other. Before long, Mr. Jinyong finished dealing with the assassin. Chief Jang sat in the car. He let out an annoyed sound. Chief Jang put on his glasses, his mouth was still grumbling. Damn the coffin lid, just open it, no one in this group can do anything. He got out of the car. Manager Jang smiled. Aha, sorry about what happened just now. It seems there was some misunderstanding. He took out his business card. This is my business card. I'm the superior of the deceased Lee Soo. We only met once on the way here, so maybe that caused a misunderstanding. I have a few words to say. Mr. Jinyong looked at him expressionlessly, then he looked up at where Baek Do-kyung was standing. Baek Do-kyung nodded to indicate agreement. At this moment, Mr. Jinyong spoke up. Please follow me, Chief Jang replied. Ah, yes. Chief Jang took a stick of incense. Standing in front of Baek Lee Soo's photo, old Jang thought to himself, are you really dead? If so, then Baek Do-kyung. How much do you know? Go back a few hours ago, when the funeral was still being prepared. Kyung, after hearing the story from his younger brother, was angry. Damn, that's why he started betraying everyone and causing this. It was all because of that department head Jang. He turned around and asked, what should I do? Can I pretend to be dead too? Lee Soo replied, about that. You don't have to show up either. Mr. Kyung suggested, then, give him a bowl of soup and send him away. Lee Soo firmly said, no, Chief Jang. Because I will face him directly. Baek Lee Soo used Baek Do-kyung's identity to face Mr. Jang directly. He pulled out a knife and called out, Chief Jang. He turned and replied, yes. Lee Soo's eyes were filled with anger. He looked at old Jang like a demon wanted to devour him. Please talk to me for a moment. He held the knife out in front of Jang. The small knife reflected Lee Soo's sharp eyes. he asked, do you know what this is? He pointed the tip of the knife towards him. I took this from my brother's body, explain this well, otherwise there will be more of your body lying here with my brother. Lee Soo put a knife to Jang's neck and angrily asked, who killed my brother? Chief Jang thought in his head, who killed his younger brother, could it be that Baek Lee Soo is really dead? He said, first of all, please calm down, in fact, he passed away while on a national mission, he thought, in that case, we just need to get past this thug. However, this involves a national secret so I can't tell you. Before he could finish his sentence, Lee Soo punched him straight in the face. Jang's nose bled and cried out in pain. Lee Soo scolded, damn, why are you talking so much? Manager Jang fell to the ground and covered his face. Lee Soo roared and rushed forward and shouted, I ask who killed my brother. Jang raised one hand to block, the other hand slid into his chest. Suddenly, the female secretary ran forward and stopped in front of Lee Soo. Mr. Jin Yong patted the department head's shoulder from behind. Chief Jang, you better go home. Lee Soo looked excited and shouted loudly, hey, come back here, I told you to come back, damn it. As department head Jang left, he did not forget to grit his teeth and turn around to stare at Lee Soo. The scene changes to a room. Baek Do-kyung is reenacting Lee Soo's face when facing the guy named Jang, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Who killed my younger brother, that damn guy? After speaking, he turned to ask the secretary, is it the same? The secretary helped him adjust, shoulders and arms should be like this. Lee Soo was helpless, you two are doing what's up. Do-kyung sat down next to his brother. Aida very good acting. Do intelligence officers also learn acting, like disguising and then infiltrating? Lee Soo bowed his head. Anyway, it will buy a little more time, he will definitely come back, Mr. Do-kyung said, follow him, I'll tell someone to set up the locator. Anyway, why don't you try going inside, I've always welcomed you with my two hands up. Lee Soo picked up his backpack and went out, saying to his brother, anyway, you can't hide here for the rest of your life. Do-kyung frowned, what, where are you going, guy? Without turning around, Lee Soo added, I asked you at the funeral was it an act, not an act. I really intend to kill him. Mr. Do-kyung asked, that's why you're here, are you planning to go there and duel with him? Do-kyung came next to Lee Soo to comfort her, I know what you're going to say, I understand but, can't you do anything and stay here with me, you're still alive. So please stay and work with me, Lee Soo asked again, are you telling me to live here and be a gangster with you? Mr. Do-kyung suddenly fell silent. Then he put his hand on Lee Soo's shoulder and replied, yes, that's right, gangster, anyway, you and I are both the same people who do dirty things. Hearing that, Lee Soo pushed his brother's hand away and went out without saying anything. Do-kyung saw his younger brother leaving without looking back so he called out, hey Baek Lee Soo, but received no response. He held his head, damn, he's so stupid that he can't be my twin, he reminded his bodyguard, Jin Yong, take the kids with you, just in case he causes trouble, story. The scene moves to Lee Soo, who is waiting at the red light at the intersection. Realizing someone was following him, he cautiously looked behind him. A man wearing a black shirt opened the car door, got out and walked towards Lee Soo. He pulled his hat low to cover his face. He asked the other person, are you going to continue following me like that? It turned out that it was the bodyguard Ha Jin Yong. He responded to Lee Soo's question, yes. Not only Jin Yong, but also a group of bodyguards coming down from black cars. He continued, this is the director's order. In a hidden corner, someone was holding a knife and observing them. At Chief Jang's office, he was listening to a report from someone. Is that so? Continue to monitor. After turning off the phone, he pondered, that expression. It's clear that he identified himself as the murderer. It seems like Baek Do-kyung knew something. In that case, suddenly a shadow appeared behind him. The man in black placed his hand on Mr. Jang's shoulder and reminded, shush, don't come back. That person leaned close to his ear and continued, if you want your daughter to return safely. Manager Jang panicked and asked again, what do you want? I did what you said, now my daughter. The other guy wrapped his arms around his neck, what I want. It turned out that Chief Jang's daughter had returned home. The girl jumped on Chief Jang's back and happily called out, Dad. Mr. Jang kindly held her legs to prevent her from falling. He helped his daughter pull her suitcase and said as he walked, you're here, are you very tired today? The girl punched her leg and whined, of course, the chair is hard and the footrest is not comfortable at all. Manager Jang loved, sorry, daughter, next time I will choose a seat for you, better. The girl rushed to hug her father, most of all, I'm tired because I miss you, Mr. Jang teased, oh my god, then next time Dad will point at the plane and make it fly faster. Manager Jang smiled and narrowed his eyes, ha ha, that has never happened before. On this side, Do-kyung adjusted his shirt. He put his hands in his pockets and walked back and forth, He asked the secretary, you're all gone, buy me a pack of cigarettes. The secretary replied, then I will send the person below to work, I have to hear with you. Do-kyung complained, hey, let me go, let me breathe, it's like being detained here. The secretary objected, no, department head Ha has already taken someone with him to protect your younger brother, the director is the only one here, if you go out, it will be very dangerous. Mr. Do-kyung sat leaning on the edge of the sofa and said, if there is no security guard, can I not go? The secretary replied, yes, anyway you can't be alone. Mr. Do-kyung smiled crookedly and suggested, then let's keep it like this. The elevator appears to be moving down from the 57th floor. Mr. Kyung holds the secretary's hand and goes down, followed by two juniors. He proudly teased the secretary, can you buy me a pack of cigarettes? The secretary blushed, two will buy it. Kyung turned back to remind his juniors, this is your big sister saying hello. The secretary looked down shyly, stop. The two juniors bowed their heads and shouted, hello, big sister. Suddenly, Do-kyung's face darkened. He put his arm around the shoulder of a junior and asked again, our big sister is getting more and more beautiful, right? That guy replied loudly, yes, that's true, you are also very beautiful today, big sister. Kyung admitted, that's true, but everyone calls Sua sister. He changed his face and asked angrily, who are you? A subordinate of Chief Jang. The other guy was stunned and tried to argue, what are you talking about? Suddenly, the man swung a knife and cut Kyung's neck, but he avoided it. He frowned, this is. Kyung and Sua were pressed close to the corner of the elevator, and the two juniors also took off their disguises. Mr. Kyung asked, does Sua still have a knife? I forgot the knife. The other two guys stared at them, preparing to attack. Sua replied, yes, in a skirt. Kyung took out the knife from the secretary's skirt and sighed and said, then I'll ask your permission. Two assassins attacked. Kyung leaned over and easily avoided the attack. He pushed him aside and at the same time used his knife to cut across the bald assassin's body. He frowned, look, you dress so well. The other guy's vest was torn by Kyung, revealing the protective vest inside. The assassin continued to attack, holding the knife towards Kyung. He thought, damn, his knife is so sharp, it cut through my protective gear. Kyung used his shoulder to push this guy to the side of the elevator. He turned to look at Sua and saw that she was being attacked by another guy and was about to be unable to resist. When the assassin raised the knife to stab Sua, Kyung ran to block his stab. The assassin stabbed Kyung in the shoulder. The sharp tip of the knife pierced deep into his skin, but he was still worried about Sua. Sua, are you okay? It's been a long time since I've tasted being stabbed by a knife. He discovered that these guys deliberately targeted Sua. He thought, at this rate, Sua will be in danger. Kyung cut hard into the assassin's knife hand. He screamed in pain, and at the same time the knife stuck in Kyung's shoulder also flew out. The bald man took advantage of the opportunity to attack Sua. When he was about to stab the knife into Sua's body, Kyung quickly slashed the knife away. The knife flew towards the remaining assassin. He used his uninjured hand to catch the knife on the floor. Seeing that, Sua quickly kicked it away. Then, she used all her strength to stab him in the neck, knocking him down. The remaining bald man's knife was also slashed away immediately afterward. He used his bare hand to block Kyung's stab. With his other hand, he took out another knife from behind his back and attacked Kyung from the right. But very quickly Kyung grabbed his arm and turned the knife back towards the assassin. His shirt popped off, revealing his beautiful body. He angrily said, come here, I'm raising my two hands to welcome you guys. The bald guy stammered in fear, wait. After that, only a scream rang out in the elevator. The elevator door opened, the bodies of the two assassins were kicked out. Kyung and Sua stepped out. Kyung yelled at his juniors outside, didn't you do your job properly? Didn't detect anything, usually in the elevator. The junior standing outside asked worriedly, Director, your shoulder. He expressed that it was okay. Okay, do you have any cigarettes? It's really hard to smoke even one cigarette. The junior immediately looked in his chest. I have them. But when he reached out to take the cigarette, a knife stabbed him in the stomach. Sua saw that and was frightened. Kyung's hand squeezed the other guy's face tightly. Hey! With his other hand, he firmly grasped the blade of the knife pinned to his stomach. In case it stabbed deeper. Kyung's tone was not good at all. Damn, I said it was a cigarette. This is so big it makes me sick. It feels heavy. The layer of skin on this assassin's face was gradually pulled off by him. That guy laughed excitedly. Director, don't pull it out. I deliberately prepared a big one for you. After a brief struggle, Baek Do-kyung was able to peel off the assassin's mask and kick him away. The man in black twirled the dagger in his hand and smiled sinisterly. Baek Do-kyung smiled faintly. This guy is fast. Hey, stop giving me cigarettes, lend me a knife. The subordinate next to him eagerly said, Director, I'm still here, You two quickly step back, Do-kyung emphasized. Give it to me if I tell you, don't just rush straight at that guy. Taking the knife in his subordinate's hand, Do-kyung told him, take Sua, protect her, go quickly. Sua was not willing to leave alone, she repeatedly called out, Director, but was still dragged away by her subordinates. Do-kyung carefully instructed her, don't open the door to strangers, you understand. After seeing Sua leave safely, Baek Do-kyung turned to the assassin and said, what should I do now? I have already guessed your lucky number, don't talk nonsense in the future. Hearing that, the other guy didn't want to hide it anymore. He took off his wig and asked Baek Do-kyung, are you always talking that much? This guy is actually a member of the HID task force, the core of the assassination team, of unknown origin, nicknamed Ur-yong, Ghost. Do-kyung looked surprised, oh, you know my name, could it be that you killed my brother? He thought to himself, the wound seems deep, we must end this war quickly. Ur-yong, hitting two daggers together, frowned slightly and said, if I have the chance, I'd like to do that too. After finishing speaking, he rushed forward and shouted, I just asked you one question, Thug Baek Lee-soo, are you really dead? Do-kyung sarcastically said, who are you kidding, you guys were also paid a large sum of money for this. Ur-yong blocked Do-kyung's counterattack and said, then I will change the question. Where is Baek Lee-soo? Do-kyung responded, damn, your ears are full of shit so you can't hear clearly. At the same time, on Baek Lee-soo's side, Jin-yong followed Do-kyung's orders and always followed Lee-soo closely to protect him. Jin-yong noticed that behind the two people appeared a person wearing a white shirt who had been following for a long time. Seeing that, he and Lee-soo deliberately walked quickly and turned into a small alley nearby. Afraid of losing track, the other two trackers also followed quickly. At the beginning of the alley, he was about to turn in when Jin-yong shook his fist in front of him. Not having time to avoid the stalker, Jin-yong's punch sent him flying away. He fell to the street, holding his arms in pain, thinking to himself, that's too strong, he must have broken a bone. While that guy was still lying on the ground in pain, Baek Lee-soo approached and interrogated him. Did Chief Jang send you here? Did he tell you to check to see if I was alive or dead? The white-shirted man's arm trembled and he replied, yes, indeed, Baek Lee-soo doesn't die that easily. Hearing the familiar voice, Lee-soo's eyes faltered in doubt. What did you say, could it be? The other guy took off the hat that was covering half of his exposed face. As soon as he saw his face, Lee-soo exclaimed, Lee Sion. Lee Sion greeted, long time no see, Captain. Jin-yong curiously asked, you two know each other? Lee Sion pointed at his swollen hand and scoffed, of course I know Uncle Gorilla, what should I do about this? Look at this. Lee-soo grabbed Sion's shoulder and said, I'm sorry, Sion, I should have been with everyone at that time. I'm the only one alive. Sion pondered for a moment before speaking, it's okay to be alive, me too, so is the captain, so from now on. In the future, when you go out to eat delicious food, you must bring me with you, noble. Saying this, he suddenly shouted, oh my god, I have goosebumps, that's enough now, leave it, why don't you do anything, you nobleman? Only then did Lee-soo notice Sion's wound and ask, ah, that's right, where is the injury? Sion whined, don't talk anymore, there's a hole in your stomach, just now, even my arm was broken. Not paying attention to Sion's story, Uncle Jin-yong calmly listened to someone's phone behind him. Lee-soo and Sion looked towards Jin-yong. Sion continued, and that person is not a gorilla to be strong. Before finishing his sentence, Sion noticed something unusual and exclaimed, but that uncle. Why do you suddenly have such an expression? It seems like something very bad happened. Returning to Do-kyung, he had more and more wounds on his body. Ur-yong crazily aimed at Do-kyung and attacked. Both sides fought back and forth for a long time, neither side willing to be outdone. After a while Ur-yong finally revealed his opening. Do-kyung quickly used a knife to attack and injure the opponent. Seizing this opportunity, Do-kyung continuously threw moves at the assassin, causing him to continuously dodge. He said to the white-haired assassin, hey you have to fight like that when you're in charge, okay, come here, he thought to himself, the longer this goes on, the worse it gets, my eyes are slowly fading. As if noticing Do-kyung's abnormality, Ur-yong smiled sinisterly and emphasized, Baek Do-kyung is Baek Lee-soo's brother. Do-kyung tried to regain his composure, held the knife and stabbed it hard at the opponent. The assassin Ur-yong used a rope to wrap his hand around him, then he looked at Baek Do-kyung with sharp eyes and said, I have to admit it, a thug like you. So that's quite good. As he finished speaking, he tightened his grip on the rope and pulled it down, causing a knife in Do-kyung's hand to fly out, blood flowing all over the floor. Ur-yong asked in a low voice, I'll ask again, where is Baek Lee-soo? Do-kyung grabbed his long hair and put the knife to the end of his hair and asked the other person, have you often heard people say you're not observant? The other guy was still bewildered and didn't understand anything. Without waiting for the assassin to answer, Do Kyung cut off his long blue hair in front of Ur-yong's surprise and bewilderment. "What are you doing?" Do Kyung clutched the bundle of hair that had just been cut, brought it forward and said, "You have to do this to understand. I am Baek Lee-soo." His eyes were full of anger, the wounds on his body were constantly dripping blood, but all that could not hide his handsome and cool appearance. Ur-yong looked at the person in front of him incredulously, wondering, "What? No way." Before the other guy had time to calm down, Do Kyung grabbed a knife and rushed to his mouth, still muttering, "That's a guy with no eye." Before Do Kyung's attack, Ur-yong quickly dodged. He sneered, "Baek Lee-soo can't be that clumsy, end it, thug." Ur-yong quickly held the dagger to attack Do Kyung, but this time Do Kyung was one step faster than him, using his bare hand to firmly hold the rope tied to the opponent's knife. Even though Do Kyung's hand was constantly bleeding, he didn't care and said to the other guy, "Just now, that hair was a bit of an eyesore." Seizing Ur-yong's knife, Do Kyung used the knife in his hand without hesitation to cut a long line on his opponent's face. Ur-yong held his bloody face and screamed in pain. Seeing that, Do Kyung provoked him, "Come on, stand up, keep fighting." Ur-yong gritted her teeth bitterly and struggled to stand up. He rushed towards Do Kyung furiously cursing, "Ignorant, uneducated thug." Before he could even touch a strand of Do Kyung's hair, he held his hand. "Next, make a straight cut across the waist." Ur-yong unwillingly gritted his teeth and blurted out, Could it be? Like this, really Baek Lee-soo." Do Kyung provoked again, "Next." Ur-yong used all her strength to attack him, still saying loudly, "No way, die." Do Kyung continuously counterattacked the opponent's attack and immediately blocked it. On the contrary, the injuries on Ur-yong's body became more and more numerous. While beating Do Kyung, he urged the other guy, "Continue." At this time, Ur-yong was completely in a weak position. After Do Kyung's consecutive counterattacks, Ur-yong collapsed. His eyes clearly showed fear as he thought, "It's really Baek Lee-soo." Do Kyung stood tall in front of this guy and emphasized, "Next." But Ur-yong did not dare to attack and begged in fear, Don't come here." Do Kyung raised the knife in his hand to pin the assassin on the floor and said, "Baek Lee-soo is right, just similar to his brother." Ur-yong used his last strength to hold a knife and stab Do Kyung before he could strike him. Seeing that the knife had penetrated Do Kyung's neck, he was a bit surprised. This assassin lay still and stood still for a few seconds to confirm that he kept calling Baek Lee-soo's name. At that moment, Ur-yong saw a black car arriving outside the gate. It turned out that Baek Lee-soo had returned. He got out of the car with a panicked look on his face and called out, "Brother." Seeing his brother lying on the floor, Lee-soo quickly ran over and kept calling, "Brother." Baek Lee-soo helped his brother up and muttered a prayer, "Please me." After Ur-yong saw someone coming, he quickly ran away. As he walked, this guy proudly opened the notebook and crossed out Lee-soo's information, constantly saying, "Baek Lee-soo, Baek Lee-soo, Baek Lee-soo, I killed you, I killed Baek Lee-soo." But he did not know that Baek Lee-soo was actually hugging his brother Do Kyung in regret and crying. That night, after Do Kyung's unfortunate incident, Sua sat down with Jin Yong and discussed, "We can't continue like this." Not only the General Association but also other regional organizations noticed the absence of Director Baek Do Kyung. "At this point, we have to choose a new representative." Head of Department Jin Yong, "You too." Sua had not finished her opinion when Jin Yong stood up and interrupted. "Tae-san without Baek Do Kyung is no longer Tae-san," Sua asked, "so we just watched the organization collapse." She frowned, "Director Baek has become like this, now you have to calm down and maintain Tae-san for him. He also doesn't want Tae-san to collapse like that." Jin Yong shouted, "That's enough." Jin Yong's tears suddenly flowed out. He said seriously, "Do you really not know? There is no such person, no one can replace Baek Do Kyung's position in Tae-san." In the main male side, after taking care of his brother, Lee-soo angrily went looking for Ur-yong. Lee Syan saw that he was in such a hurry and quickly ran after him to stop him. "Captain, stop, where are you going?" Lee-soo said in a low voice. The wound on his body was caused by a trained person. It was definitely someone from the Special Task Force following the orders of Chief Jang. Most of the special forces under Chief Jang are carrying out missions in the north in disguise like us. If we find them, we will be able to catch Chief Jang's tail. Syan continued, I know, but what should we do now?" Lee-soo angrily said, "Chief Jang, he made my brother become like this. We must find and kill them all, just like what happened to our team." As he spoke, tears unconsciously flowed out of his eyes. At the same time at Pangyo Techno Valley, an industrial complex in Pangyo City, Seongnam, South Korea, dubbed the Silicon Valley of Korea, a group of people are gathering in a row on the rooftop of a high-rise building. The guy in the yellow shirt said while peeling a pear, "I don't like Pangyo, there's nothing to eat here. right, this name is ICTT1 President Kim Kyung-chun. He stood up and continued to speak to his subordinates. There are only suit tailors here, so there is no corner to dig for money. In the past, men had to swim under the big floods in Seoul. I wanted to sit in one of the 4 major organizations under the General Association, but at that time, our department head just whispered some meaningless sweet words into my ear. Right, the red-shirted department head who was tied up hanging on the railing of the statue floor angrily responded, "Sweet words, what should I say?" Kim Kyung-chun put the peeled pear into his mouth and ate it, then used a knife to cut off part of the red shirt's rope while calmly saying, "This pear is not ripe yet, just leave it alone." Making the red shirt department head so scared that he shouted, "Ah, President, that's not true, Tae-san was attacked. A friend in Seoul told me, Tae-san encountered an unknown force and is currently not making any move. Plus, there's been no sign of Baek Do-kyung, Tae-san's boss, lately." Kim Kyung-chun looked surprised when he heard that. He cut off the next rope hanging the department head and asked again, "Oh, don't you see Baek Do-kyung anywhere? Is this news accurate?" The red-shirted department head was so scared that he was sweating and repeatedly affirmed, "Yes, I'm correct, my information is correct. He wasn't present at the meeting at the general meeting." Kyung-chun asked further, "Isn't there something else?" The other guy firmly affirmed, "I've told you everything I know." Kyung-chun replied, "I know." Having finished speaking, he bluntly cut the last rope so that the guy in the red shirt could fall freely from the top floor. Kyung-chun still held the half-eaten pear in his hand and ordered his subordinates to gather everyone. He solemnly ate the pear and confidently affirmed to his juniors, "Tae-san, we will eat it today." The manager actually only fell to the lower floor. He was so scared that he was breathing heavily, not believing he was still alive. On Lee Su's side, he was going to Ma Yang Ward, livestock market, he thought, the best place is under the candlestick. If you leave it where you want it, anyone can find it, you have to hide it in an unexpected place. That's Chief Jang style. These guys have also been trained by Chief Jang. If we're careless, we'll encounter them. Thinking so, he acted very carefully, observing everything meticulously. As soon as he entered a room, Lee Su was shocked to discover that the room had a strong smell of blood, and dead bodies seemed to be all over the floor. He raised his voice, "No one, your target isn't Baek Lee Su, is it?" The only skinhead still breathing said, You're still alive." He continued, Hey, clean up that mess, even if it wasn't you, I would still be dead." Lee Su approached the bald head and asked clearly, "What's going on?" The bald head replied, "What, department head Jang was caused by him." The bald man thought back to the scenario of being suddenly attacked and said angrily, "Damn it," he gathered everyone together and everyone was shot like a sieve. They used radio equipment. Other companies have also been cleaned up. Maybe other places are similar. The bald man reached for Lee Su and patted his shoulder. Lee Su interrupted him. Don't say anything more, but the bald man still tried to finish the last words. He shouted indignantly, "Baek Lee Su. You don't have the strength to confront Chief Jang right now, that's not an organization that you alone can deal with, you should run away to survive, run away." With that said, the bald guy passed away. Knowing the situation, Lee Su's eyes became colder than ever. He held the bald man's body in his arms and muttered, an organization like this. On the other side, Kim Kyung-chun came to the Tae-san group for a surprise attack. Looking at his people gaining the upper hand, he said triumphantly, "How disappointing, isn't that all for one of the major organizations under the General Association, Tae-san?" At this moment, Jin Yong appeared, his face sharp and cool, his hands grabbing the 2 men who had been imprisoned. Seeing him, Kim was surprised and wondered, "Ha, Jin Yong, the yaksha is motionless." Jin Yong angrily said to the other group, "You guys are the 4th group." He threw the man in black aside and continued, "I don't know where you heard what you heard from. You guys are the 4th bunch of brats to come here this week." Kim Kyung-chun smiled faintly, "You brat." The name Kim took the knife from his chest and said arrogantly, I planned to be humble when I attacked you. But since you said so, I have to play properly." A group of thugs holding knives surrounded Jin Yong. Jin Yong sneered contemptuously, warning the troublemakers, "I'm a bit tired now. So you all go up." Jin Yong raised his muscular hands to beat the others, still wearing Director Baek Do-kyung's hair tie in his hand. It can be seen that he is very sad about the incident that just happened to Director Baek. Suddenly Lee Su appeared from nowhere, pushing the black-shirted men blocking the way out. He walked towards Jin Yong in front of the curiosity of the surrounding people. "What is it, Tae-san's people, are your nerves broken?" Seeing him, Jin Yong immediately asked, "What's wrong, Baek Lee Su?" The male protagonist told him, "To avenge him, I need an organization, I can't do it alone. So give me Tae-san." Lee Su's eyes were filled with determination and hatred. Jin Yong asked in bewilderment, Give Tae-san to you. Kim Kyung-chun ran over and interrupted. Hey, what are you guys playing? He pointed the knife at Lee Soo and said, it's not just your family that's busy. You have to know how to line up. As soon as the words left his mouth, Lee Soo punched him in the mouth. Kim held his bleeding nose angrily, screaming, damn, you. He paused when looking closely at the male lead's facial expression, wondering, Baek Do-kyung. The bewildered subordinates followed in the noise. Isn't it true that there is no Baek Do-kyung? What is it, Baek Do-kyung? Could it be that Baek Do-kyung has returned? Mr. Jin-young still stood there motionless, observing. Kim Kyung-chun stubbornly said to his subordinates, What, we are outnumbered anyway, let's all rush. Hearing that, the other juniors grabbed knives and rushed forward, shouting, Die. Lee Soo didn't say a word, alone weighing dozens of people in front of him. He quickly used the small horse he had just snatched from Kim's hand to deal with those people who did not know good or bad. Looking at his decisive movements, one person had to say, That's crazy. Seeing that the guys in front were beaten miserably, Kim urged the guys behind, What, let's go up. A group of Kim's juniors rushed up to attack Lee Soo, shouting today is the end of Tae-san. Lee Soo was angry, his face darkened with murderous intent. Each and every guy was quickly defeated by Lee Soo. Kim Kyung-chun stood and watched with a burning fire in his heart and directed, You idiots, get out your knife. His useless subordinates didn't even have a chance to touch a strand of Lee Soo's hair. However, Kim Kyung-chun had to take action directly. He silently attacked from behind the male lead's back. Baek Do-kyung, you thought the knife wouldn't be able to stab you. Lee Soo quickly turned around, knocking aside the knife in Kim's hand, who took an offensive stance. Kim Kyung-chun was so scared that his face turned black and he faltered, Baek Do-kyung, this is. Lee Soo looked at him with sharp, scary eyes. The Kim family name was scared and ran away, calling back to his subordinates, Retreat, Pangyo, return to Pangyo. The people of Tae-san also mumbled happily, Director Beek, the director is back. Jin-young stood numbly to one side thinking, Tae-san cannot exist without Baek Do-kyung, I thought so but. The others continued to say, the director is here to help us, director. Jin-young walked closer to the male lead and whispered, You want Tae-san, right, Baek Lee Soo? If you want Tae-san, there's only one way. After a while at a meeting, a table of 4 people gathered together to discuss, within a month. Baek Do-kyung did not appear. The man in red continued, Damn, the General Assembly is really funny, I told you to get rid of that thug. The pink-haired woman also chimed in, Sounds interesting, right, Baek Do-kyung is dead. The other person spoke up, If that's true, Tae-san is dead. Continuing the sentence that Jin-young said to the male lead, Tae-san is Baek Do-kyung's organization. If you want to have Tae-san, there's only one way, Baek Lee Soo, you have to become Baek Do-kyung. At this moment, a hand slowly opened the curtain. The male lead and Jin-young entered the room where the other 4 people were sitting and chatting. Lee Soo spoke sarcastically, Hey everyone, you must be worried about me, right? What should I do? I already bought souvenirs knowing that. Baek Lee Soo appeared with the same style as his brother. Standing behind him was the big bodyguard Jin-young and his younger brother Lee Syan. That's right, Lee Soo replaced and took on his brother's identity to run the Tae-san Association and take revenge on those scum. The scene shifts back to the days when Baek Lee Soo followed the habits of his older brother Do-kyung. Sua is Do-kyung's close secretary, she understands Do-kyung's habits and activities well, so she helped teach Lee Soo, adjust your finger so it's behind the blade, obviously you need to do that to get more power into the blade, Baek Lee Soo complained, does anyone pay attention to details like that? Sua was serious, there will definitely be people who do that, and if your opponent is on the board, then you should be more careful. The most notorious criminal gang boss in Seoul meets with the board of directors. The aim is to prevent conflicts between gangs and encourage cooperation, but in reality, they are waiting for an opportunity to profit for themselves, waiting for a conflict to happen. Baek Lee Soo replied, That's why Tae-san Hoi and I got involved. Ms. Sua nodded, Yes, that's why I told you to be more careful. Ms. Sua confided heavily, Honestly, I'm not sure if this is the right choice. Why do we have to protect the Tae-san Association? Baek Lee Soo learned how to hold a knife but Ms. Sua just firmly said, I need Tae-san to join. A gang out for revenge is stronger than the others. That's why I need the Tae-san Association and the board of directors to fulfill my own aspiration. On the other side, a group of people stood in the construction site. People sitting on chairs said, This must be a big deal. He was Seoul Police Chief Cho Won-ho. He grinned, Chief Jang, you did well, your skills are truly admirable. Chief Jang replied, It's all thanks to your help. They're all very good. The police chief expressed, No, your working skills are the most important. He pointed down at the construction site, That's why all those guys are buried here, right? Head of Department Zhang's tone was unemotional. It's a sacrifice for a brighter future. The police chief clapped his hands. Very good, you are truly a special person. I like it very much. Is this what they say, doing dirty work to have a brighter future? His voice was mocking. The delegates have been worried lately. It's impossible to know the mood of the people in the north from those old-fashioned clothes. Chief Zhang replied, of course. The police chief suddenly said, I've been under a lot of pressure lately. They keep telling me to do this and that, so I'm busy making up for it. The police chief put his hand on Chief Zhang's shoulder. But his face darkened. But why are you trying to make me angry like that? Is it so difficult to deal with those insects out there? He pressed his fingertips on Chief Zhang's chest and criticized, why do you create so much trouble for me? Don't you know how much resources I want to deal with the trouble you cause? Chief Zhang bowed his head. I'm sorry for causing trouble. The chief continued to criticize until foam splashed. And what? Eliminate the Tae-san Association and that bastard Baek Do-kyung. Do you know how the Tae-san Association affects you? And do you know what that means? Chief Zhang explained. That's why we asked you. Because all power belongs to you. The chief gritted his teeth. My power, you bastard. Manager Zhang interrupted. Hey Cho Won-ho. The chief thought he heard wrong. What, Cho Won-ho? Chief Zhang quickly snatched the badge from the chief's chest. He held up the badge he had just taken down. You should know who is the boss here. Your role in this is a police chief. What we need is a leader, not a puppet like you, sir. Do you understand? He threw the police chief's badge onto the construction site. There are countless people who can replace you. If you don't like your role, then get out. The police chief's bodyguard grabbed old Zhang, his hand holding Chief Zhang's shirt showing blue veins. This guy has such an insolent attitude. Is the sheriff your friend, you rude guy? The police chief exhaled. TCH, this guy, how dare this guy throw away his badge? He turned and shouted, are you going to get my badge back? But before anything else, I saw a scene where Department Head Zhang kicked that big junior guy down. The guy hit his head hard on the ground and groaned in pain. Ah! Not stopping, Chief Zhang also gave him a follow-up blow with a heel kick straight to the face, while his hand very leisurely stopped his glasses from falling off his face. The police chief saw this scene and was stunned. The remaining bodyguard following him was also stunned. What the hell? The cold muzzle of the gun was pressed against the police chief's head, making him not dare to say a word. Chief Zhang said in a sharp voice, should I bury you with him? The police chief raised his hands above his head in panic. Mr. Zhang, I was wrong. Chief Zhang was still very polite with his expressionless face. Sir, I have buried my people alive before. Why should I care about Chong Hui? The police chief shouted in fear. Sir, I will handle this matter. I know the person on the board. Chief Zhang put the gun back in his shirt. Do this without touching your hands or feet. Chief Cho Won-ho. The sheriff bowed. Yes, sir. Chief Zhang suddenly called out. Ah, hey police chief. The police chief bowed. Yes. Chief Zhang said, Baek Do-kyung, I want to meet him. The scene returns to the luxurious room. 4 people sit around a dining table. The 5th chair is still empty. Jurang Resort Director Ryu Tai-yong, boss of Jurang Yongsangu headquarters, holding a cigarette and sitting cross-legged. This guy Baek Do-kyung is dead. I told you so. I told you, he's not big enough to sit here. Director of HHS Entertainment Han Hae-sung, boss of the Gangnam area, sipped a cup of wine. He said he was on a business trip. Why do people always get angry every time Baek Do-kyung is mentioned? The red-shirted Ryu replied, me, it's not just me, a crazy dog with no foundation but took over Han Nam-dong's important area. That bastard should die. The owner of the trading company Chun Wong Cha Yua, the head of Gurogu district, the leader of Sanhap Hue, and the commercial director took down the glasses on their faces. Wow, you sound like you want to stab him. You must really hate Baek Do-kyung, right? Ryu tilted his head back and covered his eyes with his hands, laughing loudly. This bitch is making me mad, trying to make me look like the bad guy, the other person reminded. That's enough, Mr. Ryu. The guy is CEO Lee Sung-min, boss of Jongno-gu area, boss of Gu-do, 9 Swords. He continued saying, the reason we are having a meeting today is to resolve tensions between us. Ryu put his cigarette ash on the table. This Chinese guy, Hae Sung-min. He smirked and said, if you act like that, I will become uncomfortable with you. You don't deserve to sit here in your current position. You just think you deserve a seat here, because you control a small ward. Lee Sung-min replied, Chong Hui was founded by Yil Hak, the first president. Someone interrupted, Sung-min, give me soy sauce. Han Hae-sung was staring at his phone. He clearly didn't care about Lee Sung-min. Give me the bottle of soy sauce, Sung-min, it's too far. Lee Sung-min said nothing, picked up the bottle of soy sauce. Ryu raised his middle finger and mocked, coward. He continued, okay, whatever, while we still allow you to be here, show some respect. At this moment, Cyan put his hands in his pockets and lifted the curtain and walked in. Is this the place? Ryu's face darkened and he looked out. Who are you? Why do you look like some nightclub hostess? Cyan didn't pay much attention to him, turned around and said, Sir, we've arrived, with such a tense atmosphere, I'm sure this is the place. Lee Soo, as Baek Do-kyung's older brother, appeared, both hands in his pockets and arrogantly walked in. When everyone in the room saw his presence, they were immediately shocked and stopped what they were doing. They all turned their heads to stare at Lee Soo. Recalling the time when on the way here he saw the information of each person in the association, Lee Soo looked at the information file. Are all the members of Chonghwa here? Not much. Mr. Jin Yong replied, yes, but the important part is the relationships, including them gathered together with a good relationship. Lee Soo, he folded the documents and continued, Jin Yong, then I will also find their weakness. Lee Soo thought, I need to handle this the way I, Baek Do-kyung, know how to handle it. Lee Soo pulled out the only recliner and asked, Service, are you talking about me? Father Yuo was surprised. Baek, are you serious? You even cut your hair. I didn't recognize you. Lee Soo sat down. I was trying to impress, and you didn't even recognize me. Ryu crossed his arms over his chest and scoffed. I thought someone stabbed you to death. It's so bad I thought it wasn't your turn. Lee Soo reached for the eating utensils and responded to Ryu, don't you use chopsticks? If you're going to eat like a dog and not use a knife and fork, can I have them? While you were away, we had a conversation. Lee Soo looked interested. Really, you guys must be really worried about me, right? I should have brought a gift or something. Han Hae-sung probed, we heard that your younger brother passed away. It must be very difficult. You haven't even contacted us. Normally you're not like that. Ryu scoffed again. The funeral was pretty crazy, wasn't it? I heard there was a knife fight too. Father Yuo also said, ah yes, I'm also very curious about that. Han Hae-sung put the wine glass on the table. Is that so? There's so much to talk about. To summarize, does Baek Do-kyung deserve to be here right now? Lee Soo stood up and said to the others, if you know someone is in trouble, why don't you come help? He pulled out a sharp knife and continued, but anyway. Lee Soo stabbed the knife hard on the table in front of the other president's eyes. The tip of the knife stabbed hard into the table, and that's when Lee Soo's face changed. He arrogantly asked again, who are you talking to about Tae-san's status? Do you think Chonghwa has the right? Han Hae-sung frowned unhappily and said, how can we accept those words? Are you planning to turn us into enemies? Lee Soo put his hands next to the corner of the table firmly. I will be frank like this, so listen carefully. This is all what Tae-san wants. He coldly declared, Tae-san will not join Chonghwa from now on. You guys can do whatever you want. The car drove quickly on the quiet road. Lee Soo returned from the meeting, resting his chin and looking out the window thoughtfully. Cyan curiously looked at the car's interior. Mr. Jin Young focused on driving. Jin Young looked at Lee Soo through the rearview mirror and asked, Chonghwa is now our opponent. Do you have any plan? Lee Soo did not answer Jin Young's question but still looked out the car window as if waiting for something. A car suddenly came out of a bend, blocking their path. Mr. Jin Young was surprised and immediately turned the wheel. Car wheels rubbing on the road create a shrill screeching sound. Cyan rolled down the car window and cursed loudly, what son of a bit. At this time, 3 other cars also surrounded their car. Another car came and the door opened. Ryu stepped down from inside. He called out Baek Do-kyung and held the weapon tightly in his hand. He walked towards Lee Soo's car and said, talking nonsense like that at a conference. The bare fist in Ryu's hand shined. As you say, I will do what I want. He clenched his fists, gritted his teeth, and gathered strength. He punched hard on the car window where Lee Soo was sitting, and the window was broken, but Lee Soo remained motionless. Jin Young and Cyan looked down angrily. Lee Soo glanced at the guy, his face darkened. Ryu arrogantly declared, so. Please let me be the leader of the Tae-san guild, you son of a bit. A few minutes ago, Cyan was so surprised that he stammered, team, captain, no, director. He pointed, if you turn this, will the rearview mirror move? Lee Soo nodded, that's right, Mr. Jin Young reminded, you're preventing me from driving, please behave yourself. Jin Young looked at Lee Soo through the rearview mirror and continued, but we have withdrawn from the General Association, now they will be our enemies, is it okay? Lee Soo propped his chin and replied, I'll trample all of them under my feet, but before that. Must catch mice at the general meeting. Lee Soo seemed to have planned it in advance. Cyan was curious, rat, at the general meeting, who is that? Mr. Jin Young asked, why do you think like that? Lee Soo analyzed, they said the funeral was noisy and killing. Jin Young continued, if it's a funeral, the director has already reported the obituary to the General Association, it's not anything special. Lee Soo continued to analyze, the killing that happened in Tae-san has nothing to do with the funeral. Cyan held his head and exclaimed, that's right, that's true, wow, I get goosebumps, why don't I understand anything? Mr. Jin Yong tightened his grip on the steering wheel. So, in the context of the general meeting, it turns out you knew what happened back then. Lee Soo continued, so I avoided going to the general meeting before finding that mouse. Mr. Jin Yong asked, how do you plan to find the director? Lee Soo calculated, maybe we have to look for it directly, because we've already messed up the rat's nest, it will know and crawl out on its own. Returning to the present, Ryu poked his head into the car to face Lee Soo and taunted, hey, Baek Do-kyung, get out. Aren't you coming down? I have to drag your precious body out before you agree. Despite Ryu's provocations, Lee Soo remained motionless, thinking, Ryu Tae-hyung. Up until now, Tae-san and Jorang have had the most animosity and clear hostility between the two sides. This guy, rat. Ryu looked at him sarcastically, are you the beaky guy from before? What did you just say? Beaky is a vulgar expression for someone who attracts customers on the street to sell goods. Cyan got out of the car and calmly replied, what are you going to do? Today is my first time riding this car, I'm in a very happy mood. Seeing Cyan's joking attitude, Ryu frowned, does this guy want to be beaten? You're quite pleasing to my eye, besides Baek Do-kyung, do you want to work for me? Cyan scoffed, oh, so I'm your superior, ah, okay then. Let's go to the car repair place first. Suddenly a fist flew towards his face. It was Ryu who didn't say anything and punched Cyan. Cyan's body also tilted back. Cyan used his hand to catch Ryu's fist. Even though it was very painful, he still acted unharmed and said to Ryu, oh, look at your habits, are you a scoundrel? Ryu smiled disdainfully, oh, can you block it? Hey, I really like you, bye key. Suddenly, several white cars came from afar, attracting Ryu's attention. Ryu exclaimed, what's going on? Are you planning on having a celebration party here? Cyan stood to one side, puffing his cheeks and blowing on the sore hand that had just blocked Ryu's fist. Ryu looked at the person who had just arrived and asked, what's going on? Lee Sung-min. Lee Sung-min calmly said, Representative Tae-hyung, stop here. Ryu raised his middle finger in contempt, oh my god, if Master Sung-min says stop, then we have to stop, but soon he changed his tone, what should I do? Isn't that enough for you? You must have been chasing me for a long time, right? He bowed his head jokingly, we're planning to hold a party, does Sung-min also want to participate? Il Hawk doesn't know if he's capable or not. Suddenly there was a big hand placed on Ryu's shoulder and he laughed loudly, ha ha ha, you're capable, Ryu Tae-hyung, you're just a big mouth. I remember not long ago you were crying because of the scar on your back, right? It's gotten a lot bigger lately, hasn't it, Ryu Tae-hyung? Ryu looked at the other person warily, Nine Knives, Choi Chun-ho, old man, what are you doing all the way here? Cyan leaned against the car window and asked Jin Yong, what's going on? Who is that uncle in the white suit? Those two people look like they're about to film a long-running drama. Can we call cut? Mr. Jin Yong replied, it's the Nine Knife, part of Il Hack's elite team. I didn't expect the Nine Knife to appear. Cyan was curious, Nine Blade. Mr. Jin Yong explained, currently, Il Hack's reputation has declined a lot. The previous generation of Il Hack was a leading organization in Seoul. At that time, Il Hack's elite team had 9 people called the Nine Knives. Understanding what happened, Cyan exclaimed, it's true that things related to those thugs are really great. But looking at everyone's reactions, it's probably not a lie. Ryu's juniors were stunned. 9 swords, Choi Chun-ho, is that old man really Choi Chun-ho? Il Hawk CEO, Choi Chun-ho, the leader of the 9 swords and 2 swords, looked at the crowd with disdain, you kids have no ambition. Ryu bit his lip and thought, damn it, why is Il Hawk here? This is between me and Tae-san, why are we sticking our noses in? Mr. Jin Yong got out of the car, senior, long time no see. Ryu saw that they knew each other and frowned, what? The 2 swords patted Jin Yong's shoulder loudly, hey, Jin Yong, why did you become so big? Mr. Jin Yong was polite, you should have come to greet your senior, I didn't expect to meet you here. Lee Sung-min spoke up, Representative Tae-hyung, we want to invite Tae-san to Il Hawk as a guest, is that okay? Ryu left unwillingly, fuck it, it's up to you guys. Lee Sung-min came to Lee Soo's window, Director Beck, please go in my car, this car's glass is broken. Lee Soo silently glanced at him and thought, Lee Sung-min, what are you thinking about? He walked out of the car as if nothing happened, wow, that sounds cruel, is it all over? Lee Sung-min raised his hand and said, ha ha, the director is too talkative, please go this way. Old Choi had an opinion, you two go this way, I still have something to discuss with this old friend, Mr. Jin Yong said, I will go with the director. Lee Soo waved his hand, I'm fine, I can take Cyan with me, that car is too small, you won't fit in. Cyan heard that and tried to puff out his chest to show, I'm not small either. The white car drove across the road. Lee Sung-min asked, did Tai-san really withdraw from the General Association? Lee Soo looked at him, it says retreat, but it doesn't mean retreat. What kind of status? Just a decision in anger. Lee Sung-min replied, if we continue to withdraw from the General Association, other organizations will be very constrained. Lee Soo leaned his head against the car door, his fingers tapping on the window and said calmly, that's right, there was another attack today. I have to ask for money for repairs. He silently thought to himself, what do you want to say, Lee Sung-min? Lee Sung-min still tentatively probed, the General Assembly is a place of restraint and competition between organizations. To live, you must have strength. Lee Soo asked directly, what do you want to say, Representative Lee Sung-min? The car stopped at a large harbor. Lee Sung-min looked over with determined eyes, Director Baek Do-kyung. Now I need strength. Lee Soo looked at him thoughtfully, then suddenly someone knock outside the car window. Lee Soo glanced out. On Choi's side, he looked at the broken car window and exclaimed, compared to biting other people's backs, that brat Tae-hyung was able to punch pretty well just now. Jin-young didn't care but was still looking at the direction Lee Soo had just left, worried. Mr. Choi advised Jin-young, don't go to Il Hawk. Mr. Jin-young interrupted, if that's the case, don't say it anymore, you're Tae-san's person now. Old Choi was sincere, you also have a destiny with 9 swords, there is still a place for you. Mr. Jin-young turned his head and replied sharply, I am Tae-san's person, above all, I have work to do here. Second Sword Choi tried to advise, Jin-young, you have nothing to do. He announced, Tae-san will collapse today, it's over now. Turning back to Lee Soo, the person outside the car door said, hello, Director Baek Do-kyung. The group of people dressed in white stared at him, welcome to the 9 Sword. Lee Soo admired, Representative Lee Sung-min, it's beyond my imagination. Lee Sung-min replied, this is our highest welcoming ceremony. Lee Soo hugged his face and laughed, leaning his head back on the chair. Suddenly he coldly stood up, looked straight at Sung-min and asked, is it you, Mouse? He called out, Cyan. He looked at him through the rearview mirror and replied, yes, Director. Lee Soo ordered, capture Lee Sung-min. Cyan obeyed, yes, I will do it now. The driver's face darkened, what, this arrogant guy. Cyan gave him a strong knockout. He grumbled, this puppy is too loud, please be a little more obedient. The driver foamed at the mouth and slumped over the steering wheel. Cyan looked out the car window, Lee Soo advised, stay there for a bit. Having said that, he got out of the car and faced the group of 9 knife men. He continued, it won't take much time. Ryu exhaled white smoke into the air, cursing, Lee Sung-min, damn, you bastard even brought 9 sword. His junior asked, just how terrible is the 9 sword? The guy turned down to look at Ryu, we've added more people to this opportunity. Ryu Tae-hyung suddenly asked, hey, are you good at fighting? The other guy didn't understand, what? Ryu gave him a painful slap on the back of the head, then damn it, give me a few hits. He frowned, this guy really doesn't know anything and is talking too much, damn it, how did Il Hawk take over all of Seoul before? He squeezed his junior's face, how come you still dare to leave your butt at the general meeting, you idiot, that guy only knows how to endure the battle, cry ah. Ryu continued, before, I was wondering the same as you, Il Hawk had 9 knives, at that time, I saw with my own eyes, with just 3 people of Il Hawk, they destroyed the entire organization in the Gongbuk area. 9 people, now there are only 6 left, anyway, as long as there are 3 people of the 9 swords, everything will be resolved smoothly. What kind of crazy person would dare to fight with 9 sword? What if someone destroys the 9 blade? Then that guy will swallow Seoul whole. Back to the Dark Knight a few days ago, at a lake, I'm telling you this because I'm kind. The police chief looked at the person next to him, Tae-san is not the same now as before, right, it's just a mountain behind the neighborhood. Because of the project above, Baek Do-kyung lost his younger brother, Tae-san got involved in that, that's why it turned out like this. He advised, that's why Il Hawk must act first. The person sitting next to him was the president of Il Hawk, Lee Sung-min. He wondered, even so, there must be a good reason to go to war now. The police chief interrupted, Sung-min, if you keep hesitating like that, everything will be robbed. He tapped the cigarette butt on the fish bucket, anyway, you are too careful, you keep avoiding like that, that's why Il Hawk became what it is now. If he was the former president, when he was still asking for money, he would have fought, long time ago. He hooked the bait on the hook, if the General Assembly were 9 knives, no one would dare to say anything, we have the best Tao, why do we have to keep to ourselves like that? I'm really thinking about the president so I'll help, let's rebuild Il Hawk from Tae-san. Lee Sung-min stood up from his chair, as if he had decided something. He said firmly, "We will make Tae-san collapse." The police chief was pleased. "That's right, now go." Lee Sung-min requested, "Let us participate in this project instead." The police chief glanced at Lee Sung-min. He changed his face and smiled contemptuously. "You should also know your fate. I just praised you a little, so don't misunderstand. It's one sink, but how can Il Hawk sit in the same place?" Back to the present, the bald guy wearing glasses sarcastically said to Lee Soo, "It doesn't take much time, dreams are a bit different from other people." The girl hugged his arm and at the same time gave her thumbs up in approval. "Indeed, it is my father. Is this the power of an intelligence officer?" Old Jang laughed. "Ha ha, Dad just does office work. Just someone who edits documents here and there." The girl drawled, "What, so Dad isn't fighting?" Hearing that, Ryu got angry. "This son of a bitch." Ms. Cha Yua laughed. Han Hae-sung pushed his glasses. "Mr. Du." Cyan poked his head out from the front door and scolded. "Hey, I'll just open it. Why do you have to break the window? This car is very expensive. Get rid of your dog's paw. Basic decency is thrown to the dog." "Huh?" He snapped at his junior. "Hey, damn it, get out." Cyan covered his mouth and laughed. "Ha ha, he looked like he was being dragged into the car like a puppy.